Beloved patch 2 and content update 1, I'm going to make something that I personally enjoy watching myself. I'm going to do a bit of a map ranking for the team objective maps, as the team deathmatch slash free for all maps don't interest me too much. So I'm going to start from my least favorite to my most favorite, and obviously I'll explain why. Now, if we were going off of a tier list, I would say there are no bad maps in my opinion. The only map that I genuinely do not like is the Fighting Pit, which thankfully is not a team objective map. So if we're going off of solely team objective, let's say we're going from B to S tier in terms of ranking. And currently there are only 5. Content Update 1 will introduce a new team objective map. So let's start. First one. This is a bit of an unpopular opinion, definitely. My least favorite of the team objective maps is the Fall of LONSPIRE. Now, there are reasons for this. So first things off, I'm very biased towards the maps with the VIP stages. Spoiler alert, the top 3 maps are going to be between DARKFOREST, RUDHELM, and FALMIRE because they all have a VIP final stage. That's typically just what I think of when I think of this era, you know, I think of kings and just nobles and the stakes that come with them, and their more focused objectives. So, LONSPIRE. The reason why this is my least favorite of the team objective maps is it does not have a lot of room for creativity. Now, positives of it is very obvious. It is a visually stunning map, probably the most beautiful, and you go from the most environs. You start off in a quick fight on the beach, transitioning to some greenery, traveling up the road, all the way into this castle, and then to this into this town, into this beautiful castle. And obviously the ships in the background with the trebuchets constantly firing at them. It's a very cool area to look at. But gameplay-wise, it's not too dynamic. It's pretty much every LONSPIRE match goes the same way with little variation. It's a balanced map, probably one of the most, if not the most balanced map in the game, so definitely has those things going for it if you're someone who worries about wins or losses. There's a fair amount of counterplay that the Agathians can have against the Masons, and the Masons can have some strong pushes. The first objective, it's pretty standard, it's just bringing a ram to the castle. Unfortunately, the gate of this glorious place is a wasted objective, as there's not much to do once the ram actually reaches it. It's pretty much going to get breached in seconds. The town here, there's not too much that goes on within it. There's a quick fight here, and then you move forward, and then it's just constantly pouring in the courtyard. The spawns are pretty close for the Masons. I have seen some people say that the courtyard here is unfair as the Agathians spawn too close, but it's fairly fun. But I think the reason why not dislike, but why I favor LONSPIRE the least, besides the lack of VIP and genuinely, static objectives, and what I mean by that being not too, there's nothing spectacular you'll see here, like no crazy unique plays. The most unique thing you'll see probably is, multi-kills with the catapults. Oh, the catapult is something I should touch up on. They can make this first objective very aggravating as either Agatha or Mason. When I'm ranking these maps, I am considering both sides, and even with that in mind, LONSPIRE would still be my lowest ranked. Wow, the amount of times on the Mason side you can get team killed by both catapults is absurd. And generally, the catapult here on the Agathian side doesn't see much action from the Agathians, because within 2 to 3 minutes, the Masons will always be up here, and at that point, the Agathians will never get that catapult back. So it's just a bit of wasted potential. Obviously, I already mentioned the gate, but the reason why LONSPIRE is my least favorite of the team objective is, once again, this is probably an unpopular opinion, the bridge phase. Genuinely, I do not like the fight that happens on this bridge. That's why I've made these videos showcasing me cheesing this objective and trying to end it within 20 or so seconds, because the sooner I'm off of this bridge, the better my life is. Now, I thoroughly like this game, love this game, and its combat. I do not like the slash fest, just the mosh pit that forms on this bridge. It's probably the most choked up of all choke points on the game when I'm really thinking of it. There is no room to maneuver. There are no flanks you could take. If you're running through it to try to YOLO the banners, you have to run through Agathians. It's absurd. Playing as Team Agatha, it's pretty much the same thing. It's either that, or you're just chilling on the wall, cheesing people that try to use the ladders. It's just generally a very unenjoyable phase for me. What I do derive enjoyment from is ending it within 20 or 30 seconds, if I get the timing right, and of course, if we capture the courtyard. And then to the trebuchets. By the way, that's not how you pronounce it. It's trebuchet, but the game, it's part of the humor, them mispronouncing it. Then this last stage, it can be close. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of excitement that comes to getting these things going. However, one reason why it does fall a bit flat for me is because of a core issue with the game being no overtime. Basically, if it's a close match and the Agathians have a strong defense, but the Masons are making last-second pushes, if the Masons on the very final trebuchet, for either the first pair or the second pair, if the Masons do not have it within a set amount of time, like say 30 or so seconds, the match is pretty much dead. And granted, this is an issue that most maps face, with the exception of, I believe, just about one. But the lack of overtime does kill some rather exciting matches on this map, because otherwise this map pretty much is just a flat melee fest. Once again, what I mean by flat is there's no cool plays on this map. It's pretty much you're always going to be bringing the ram as a team. You're always going to be breaking the gate within 2 minutes. You're always going to be swarming in this courtyard. There's no cool maneuvers you can do here. It's just hoping that you win the team fight. The only cool play that you can do here is disliked by a majority of the community, being the cheese strategy Masons can do to end this stage quickly. And same thing with the trebuchets. The only thing of variety you can really do is take wide flanks around once you get to the last pair, and something I like to do personally is to increase the odds of winning as the Masons, because generally I get more enjoyment being on the attacking side, with one map being the exception, is I like to stand on the barrels to plant the bombs, and then use a sweeping weapon like the Executioner's Axe or something to get the advantage and make sure that it doesn't get disarmed. But both attacking and defending, this map is pretty flat and samey in each match. It is fairly balanced, though. You'll see wins and losses happen in pretty much every stage past the breach of the town, because really the only way Masons wouldn't be able to get the ram there is if they're not on point with the catapult, which should never really happen. But everything past there is fairly balanced, and I can understand the community's enjoyment, but personally, this is my least favorite of the team objective maps. It is absolutely gorgeous to look at, though. If I could take the camera in here, without having opening the doors, I'd love to show it to you and just admire it, but as you can see, stunning environment all around. It's just a great showcase of the game's graphics. And I guess a bit of a negative is the lack of usage of this room. I've seen a few posts regarding that. It has a throne and everything, but the most that you'll see here is just Masons running through to, plant the bombs, because this is ultimately where the melee is going to be. Yeah, I think that's actually my big problem with this map. Pretty much, it's just big areas with a melee fest. The bridge, the courtyard, melee fest. The bridge, melee fest. Up here, you can cheese the ladders pretty easily, and then it turns into a melee fest. Trebuchets, melee fest. Just overall, it's just standard team fights. This map is just team fight the map. It's like one big team deathmatch map, in my eyes, personally. But, as said, very balanced. Visually, probably the best looking map. Moving on. So if I were to rank that on a tier list, we're going to put that in the B tier. Alright. Moving up, we are going to second on the list. So it's going from my least favorite to most favorite. Slaughter of Coxwell, as said, should be no surprise given it has no VIP. But this map is this would definitely be in the A tier for me. Almost S. If it had some sort of special character in it, like a huge brolic peasant or something at the end, it would be an S tier, along with the other three VIP maps. However, they might not all be in the S tier. I don't have a script for this, so we'll just see how it goes. Coxwell. This is, without a doubt, the funniest map in the game, for obvious reasons. However, it is also one of the most hated, because it's rather Mason-favored, unless I'm playing in the Mason team, and we lose at the marketplace. But just at the start, you can tell that this map is going to be silly. The Agathians, they all start spawning in as a peasant. The peasants themselves are freaking hilarious, both the player-controlled ones and the AI peasants. The things they have to say, talking about, "Psst, hey, it's me, I'm Mulric," stuff like that. And obviously the very derpy way they act, but this is pretty much just a recreation of Stonesail from Chivalry 1, but it has a lot of personality to it. One of my favorite things to do, and what I always do, I do not like being Masons on this map because, you know, it's pretty standard. It's just running around doing very similar objectives. This first stage, burn the village. Second stage, another gate that's pretty much a free stage. Ironically enough, this map's gate is probably the most durable in the game besides Darkforest, and I think matches could actually be won here if more Agathians stopped being pansies and failed to chuck things at the bottom. But being a peasant on Team Agatha is one of my favorite things to do in this game, and just seeing how long I can survive, listening to the hilarious voice lines, the battle cries are just peak. They are stellar. It is a hilarious map from start to finish. However, it is sullied by certain things. One of the biggest issues many people have with this map, alongside myself included, is that its objectives are very samey. First stage is burning a village. That's all fair. It's a good objective. It has good plays. It has a fair chance for both the Masons and Agathians to defend, and attack. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this first stage is very balanced. I've seen losses here, a lot for Masons, but usually they can push on through. So it's a very fair spot. The second stage, their spawns move up in an obnoxious way to where when you're trying to rally at the gate, the Masons are actually cutting you off because their spawn immediately moves, but that's something that can be tweaked very easily in the future. This gate, unfortunately, I would love to see a strong defense happen here, but after the first wave of Agathians die, which usually takes about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, no one is able to stack there anymore, or they don't try to, and then the gate stage is breached. So then it's on to the third stage, which is getting gold from the church, and this area over here. I am level 300 plus, and I'm not going to lie to you, I have never once went to this left side to defend it. I don't know why. I really don't. I just, every single time, go to the church. The rest of that map might as well not exist to me. And it's just taking gold from these carts into here. Not too much fun. It's just a very standard objective. As said, I derive most of my joy, pretty much all of my joy on this map, being a peasant on Agatha. Now, once I'm done being a peasant, it's pretty much just a standard match on a quite unique environment. The environment of this is pretty different. Granted, it is pretty much a recreation of a remake of a map from Chivalry 1, and I definitely need to drink water for all the talking I'm doing, so 1 second. But yeah, after the peasants are done, it's pretty much a standard map that has repeating objectives. After you get the gold for this phase, what do you do next? That's right, you get more gold. You go from taking gold from set locations and bringing them to a cart to just straight up snatching it and putting it into your inventory. I don't even know why there's all this almost neon marigold materials all over a peasant village, but what do I know? And this objective, I do not like it. It can be intense. It can have some great matches. This is pretty much Agatha's last stand, as the last stage, which I'll get to later, is very problematic in the current state of the game. But besides the midget bench, which adds some very fitting humor to the map, it's pretty much just hoping that your team is better than the other team. And if Masons are better than Agatha, they're just going to get a clean sweep. It's very easy on this objective for Masons to come from just any angle. They have 3 entrances. It's a wide area. They can come from any angle. It only takes about 2 or so seconds for a Mason to take gold, and you can probably count just how many gold pieces they actually need to take, and you can imagine in a full lobby of 32 people, it can be very hard for Agatha to actually defend it. Granted, though, this is where most matches will lead to a Mason loss. This is the best chance for Agatha to win, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry. It's early, haven't slept. Yeah, but besides that, besides being a peasant and the midget bench, there's not too much else cool about this map besides its environments. And then we get on to the last stage, which is the biggest problem with this map, and probably why it's so hated by the community. The exploits that are allowed on this map, and the last stage. So this last stage in the current state of the game is impossible for Agatha to win. The Masons get about 6 minutes to kill Agathians, and after they kill enough of them, don't know exactly how many, but we'll say maybe like 100 of them, maybe 80, 90, the Agathians then start respawning as peasants, and I guess in theory, they are supposed to meat shield the remaining soldiers. It's a survive the horde phase for Agathians, which is actually unique when you think about it. There's no other objective really that's like that. And you know, the overall themes of this map are pretty unique. A slaughter within the lore, you know, and slaughtering all the peasants to then get to the soldiers. But in practice, it's not too enjoyable. Agathian respawns, the Mason spawn, and how many angles they can breach this last area in. It's simply too easy for the Masons to steamroll. So the frustration comes from the fact that after the Mason victory lap stage, Masons might still lose because of the well-known exploits on this map. Not just talking about hiding places, but people that are on the Agathian team just running all the way back to the start of the map, which is way outside of the Mason boundary, which forces Masons to just wait out the timer and eventually lose. Not like it matters much winning or losing, and you can count that as a win if you kill all the soldiers, but the frustrations really come from just how unfair it is for Agatha at this last stage. And I think with some minor tweaks, it can actually be something special, you know? If they say, when you respawn as a peasant, reduce the timer by about half, so that it can really become a slaughter where peasants are just constantly swarming the last soldiers, trying to keep them alive, and you know, it's actually feasible to win here without exploits, I think at that point, this map could be really cool. But as it is, besides spawning in as a peasant and trying to survive, and the midget bench, I don't get too much joy from this map. Alright, I should stop saying it like that. The map isn't the most fun to me after that. It becomes very standard. Similar to LONSPIRE, there's not unique plays or anything you can do as the Mason side, as the attacking team. Definitely, it's just more fun as Agatha for me, just trying to do those special things that are unique to this map, being surviving as the peasant, getting small and stuff, and just, you know, enjoying the role-playing aspect. This map definitely allows a lot of cool role-play with the silliness of it. You know, the peasants, the food items, the church roleplay, the recorders, the harps. It's a very funny map, the funniest map in the game. Unfortunately, it does have some glaring balance problems and repeating objectives, which can become very dull. So that's Coxwell. Coxwell would be going into the A tier. So we have 3 more team objective maps, and let's see. Well, it's obvious what my number 1 is if you know me. So it's really between 2. RUDHELM and DARKFOREST. Taking into account both sides, I'm going to put DARKFOREST as the bottom 3 of the VIP maps. Now, DARKFOREST is probably the longest map in the game, just talking straight up length, no homo ayo. It is a very long valley all the way to the keep, and the aesthetics of this map and the visuals are top-notch. This is, in my opinion, the best looking map. LONSPIRE being right behind it. But this map, you know, nighttime, I'm definitely a night owl. I just love it, love it, love it, love it. Love the environment, love the sounds, love the backgrounds, love everything. Love the fog, the way the big castle is hidden behind all of it. It's very cool. Playing in it, though, it's something. So this is also a map that you'll see a lot of wins and losses on for both teams. So it's one of the more balanced maps. I would say overall, on the VIP maps, I would enjoy being the VIP. So I'll say I like this map more as Agatha. As Masons, this map can be cool. However, the big problem I have with these balanced maps, I know that's gonna sound crazy. A problem I have with these balanced maps is that if one team is better than the other, it's very hard to get anywhere. After the first objective, which is a wooden barricade. Frankly, I don't even know why that's the start of the map. This barricade is pretty much free. I've had one match where Masons almost lost. They had like 30 seconds left to destroy this. Don't ever let that happen to you. This objective should be done within 60 seconds, no more than that. But after this, if the Mason team isn't that good and the Agathians are just better than them, they're not going to see much of the map. Plain and simple. They could easily lose here. The gatehouse takes only a few seconds to capture, so if they do reach it, then if they get past this convoy area, it's expected that the Masons are going to reach the castle. I think one problem that this map has is a lot of it feels like filler. Pretty much the first objective is filler, then you have this phase, which can be an easy loss for the Masons if the Agathians are on point. I've won many matches here recently. This gatehouse, for some reason, is extremely quick, so if Agathians don't stay here at all times, as soon as they lose the team fight, they lose this objective. So immediately, 2 filler objectives. Then it's another long push with a lot of ballistas and stuff, and this area is cool. I like this. This is where I'd say the most dynamic gameplay can occur. Tons of angles you can take. 4 ballistas actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's dynamic in the sense of it goes from the Agathians using these things as a defensive option to the Masons then taking them over and using them to help the assault. This part of the map I actually really enjoy. This fourth phase. The small fight on the bridge, very cool. Using the ballistas here. This is just probably my favorite part of the map, besides the Duke. But then after this, it's another filler objective. It's a barricade of like, let's see, let's count exactly how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, I guess, bush piles. And again, it just feels like this stage is to add time for the Masons to breach the castle, because Masons will never lose here. It's extremely easy to get this. They have their 2 or 3 campfires around here that they grab the torches, 1 back here if they're cheeky enough, and it's only 8 of them they need. And again, 32 people in the enemy team. The Masons will get through this very quickly. I've never even seen the top of this, because why would you use the rocks and barrels and stuff when there's a wide flank on the left and right? The Masons will never be stupid enough to try to go through the center here, so as I said, it just feels like more filler. I'm level 300 and I've never seen this. I've never went up here, because why would you? Then it's taking the castle. Now, the environment of taking this actual castle is amazing. Just look at this. Watch this. It's all foggy. You can't see anything. And then there's this wide field, and look at that. You can't tell me that doesn't look just spectacular, seeing this beautiful area just creep into sight. But again, this castle phase, the Masons have about 7.5 minutes to break this. They have more, actually, but all the equipment from the convoy needs to roll out and be here. I have only seen Masons lose here twice, and I've been on the receiving end once as the Mason team. So I've stalled them successfully once and lost successfully once here. But majority of the time, the Masons are going to get to this area. I think a problem with it is pretty much after the 3rd objective, the rest is just filler until we get to the Duke of Darkforest. But this area here is also pretty spectacular. The sounds of the catapults just going through the air, it's smashing on the gate. It's really cool. As Team Agatha, using your catapult to just lay waste to theirs, their catapults being on the left and the right here where these mantlets are, it can be very fun, and you can easily rack up enough kills and points to become the Duke, even if you just join the match. I've had matches where I join in this stage, and I get on this catapult immediately, teammates are feeding me rocks, and I'm able to become the Duke later on the map, despite me joining this late into the match. Granted, though, that can also be unfun, because pretty much that means if the Masons aren't bothering to stop the person on the catapult, that person is pretty much guaranteed to be Duke, regardless of how the other teammates have performed throughout the rest of the match. So that can be a bit of a rob for some players that I understand they would not enjoy. But then we have, and also just in general, getting through this area is not too hard. So again, it kind of falls with that filler problem. But it's not impossible. There are the catapults, the petards. They might not be enough sometimes. It all really boils down to how the Masons pressure this catapult. If they do not, and the Agathians defend it, or the Masons just don't bother attacking it hard, then they might have a really rough time getting here, because these two catapults are going to be the main way you get to the gate, or through the gate. The petards that lay out here, I have seen matches where the Masons get in almost exclusively through petards, which bothers me heavily because there is no reason that should be possible. Agathians spawn all throughout here, so the middle should always be rallied. That goes for any objective. You know, the center should always be heavily defended. But when it doesn't, and I'm Agatha, it can be aggravating. But overall, this is the third objective, or yeah, the third push, the second convoy push. This phase, pretty cool, and then the Duke. Now, this room is crazy. This room is insane. Disregarding the boundary issues and becoming the Duke here, it is a lot of fun. It gets the heart beating. The Masons will always be pouring. The reason why I like this stage more than RUDHELM, despite me putting RUDHELM a bit higher than this one, since this is the lowest of the 3 VIP maps, is because this room is just non-stop action. It takes Masons about a minute and some change to get in, so really the Masons have like 3.5 minutes or maybe 4 minutes to kill the Duke rather than the full 5. But wow, being the Duke here and just living, getting the chance to fight back, defend yourself, you have teammates rally around you, it is crazy, because once the Masons get in, you will be non-stop harassed. I have seen matches where defenses are extremely strong, and pretty much the only Mason push comes around this right flank here, this well-known area that the Masons can push through. But even in those scenarios, you always have to be defending yourself. You have to be using these pillars for cover from arrows, have to be watching the oil pots. The Duke is going to be constantly having to bounce back and forth between here, staying away out of the line of fire here, making sure he doesn't get pushed into this balcony or something, because unfortunately there is a boundary there, and he has plenty of resources. He has these huge tower shields, he has these lances if he so desires. There's a lot of counterplay that the Duke can employ, and that's not even regarding his teammates. You know, there are some dynamic strategies that the field engineers can use. One of the best strats you can do to defend the Duke is, as a field engineer, barricade the center, because forcing them to use these wider areas allows your team to rally and stay by him, instead of him getting swarmed from every angle, which divides your team's resources. If the Masons are funneled through the left and right, it makes it easier for your team to defend. Some, simple 1000 IQ plays right there. And, of course, the occasional chandelier play. Basically, the reason why this map is the lowest of the 3 VIP maps is a lot of it is filler, but the phases that aren't filler, being the convoy push, the siege of the gate, and the actual Duke phase, really make up for it. And, of course, the overall design of the map is spectacular in my eyes. I mean, just look at that. Or really, the lack of what you can look at. It's really cool. And Dark Forest was also from the first Chivalry, so OG players might enjoy this environment a lot. But overall, this Duke phase really makes up for all the filler objectives. So, my second favorite team objective map, this might come as a surprise, it is definitely RUDHELM. Definitely RUDHELM. And there's reasons for that. As I get into it, let me take a swig of water before I spiel why. Oh, and if we're going on a tier list, I would put Dark Forest in the upper A tier. A+. So currently it's LONSPIRE B, COXWELL A, Dark Forest A+. So, RUDHELM. RUDHELM. The reason why this is probably my second most favorite team objective map is because there is no filler. Every objective is a fight. It is a real match on every objective. Yes, even the first one, pushing the siege towers. It is another map that most people will consider Mason favored. Wow, it really starts me all the way back here, huh? So I gotta scroll all the way to the beginning. And it's another dynamic map. I've seen people describe this as the perfect showcase for Chivalry. You know, bringing siege towers to a wall, fighting through a town, or taking a gatehouse, burning an enemy camp, fighting through a big, desolate town, and then coming up upon the Mason Heir. And, just the idea of, attacking an heir because he's the son of the king that you are going against. I mean, that's cool in and of itself, but that's just small lore stuff. Every objective here is a fight for both the Agathians and the Masons. No objective here is really free. And yes, it is, I would agree, definitely Mason favored, but I think the combat that can be here and the dynamics of it do make it flourish more than the other maps. So, you have the 2 catapults that the Agathians can use. Finally, the attackers get to use the catapults in a useful way to lay it on the enemy. In LONSPIRE, team kills happen. You can't really press the spawns because you have to help press the objective. So, you can easily get harassed and stuff. But in this one, as the Agathians, once you get out the start of the match, you can actually make some stuff happen with these catapults. You can press the spawns, and granted, most matches will progress from here. You won't see many first stage losses here for the Agathians. I've seen it once. It was very sad. I was on the Mason team. But other than that, most matches progress from here. But it also takes a long time. Another reason why I like this map more than most others is the length of it. I do like lengthier matches, as I think that means they're going quite well for both sides. So the length of each objective definitely adds to it. You can really rack up those kills and get the momentum going. So past this, it's this gatehouse. This gatehouse is a lot of fun for me. Not involving the cranks, because I don't do much of the fighting downstairs, but putting up all 3 ladders, using the siege towers, I think that is a very cool dynamic, having all those angles that the Agathians can come from, even though it's in a narrow space. Fighting on this small area here can be a lot of fun, using oil pots, banners, and stuff to rally. Then the dynamic of having these 2 floors, and of course the obnoxious cranks. It is rough. I've seen many Agathians lose here, which is unfortunate, but those better matches, the Agathians will eventually push through here. Of course, you had the cheeky traps and stuff. Another one, huge struggle, but you can get through it. Usually takes a couple minutes, but I think the Agathians just have just enough what they need, enough with their spawns and the angles they can come from, and eventually, you know, winning the team fights will get you there. Burning the camps, this is a negative. This is another filler objective. I feel like this is just here to give the Agathians more time for the next objective, which is the lengthiest objective in the game. You have 13 minutes to bring those siege towers from the town all the way to the castle. This one is crazy. This is a grueling, grueling fight through this town, and obviously it's pretty much a 3-lane. Left lane, center lane, right lane. It almost has 4 lanes, but yeah, it's definitely a 3-lane fight. And again, its length is something that I think really has it going for it. The thing that I like about this map is it's another map filled with struggle for the Agathians. As you can tell, my #1 map is going to be FALMIRE, and it's for that, you know, that struggle. I like difficult maps. I don't like balanced maps like LONSPIRE, because they're rather static. I like when the odds are against me, because that means when I beat them, you know, when we get to the air and take the fight to him, that means, you know, we're going against the odds. We're triumphing. We're as the underdogs. And really, that's what the Agathians are in this game. They are the underdogs. They lost the war. They're fighting against the bigger enemies now, instead of it being the reverse. Yeah, getting the towers all the way over here, it's always a lot of fun. It takes a long time. You're gonna see a lot of oil pots, banners, a lot of times where they're stalled in some place and you have to fight through it. But with time, you can get it through there. This ballista is a very funny one, because it can be used from the start of the objective to the end of the objective through these narrow paths. And you might think that's absurd and you won't see value from it, but trust me, you will be seeing ballistas all around this place from the Agathians once they get the tower here. And of course, the overall environment of the town, you know, you have this graveyard, the constant screaming in the background, not only from the characters, but just ambience. You'll always hear this woman occasionally yelling. It's a very gloomy place, and it really, I think, highlights just how the Masons have shaped the land as they won the war. The courtyard, another really fun stage for me. It's wide, it has a ballista, so there's some dynamics to it. The gallows, it's a very clustered area. Obviously, the courtyard, this is the area you need to control as the Agathians, this circle. As you can tell, I'm mostly ranking this through the perspective of Agathians, as attackers generally are more fun for me. And it's quite the fight. You can have some heartbreaking losses here, as the Mason spawn is definitely in their favor. Overall, if the Mason team is better, they're probably not going to let you get through here. But if you're good enough, you can push through. The Masons spawn here, at the bottom right here, and here, while the Gathians, they do have to travel some distance. They have to travel up their siege towers and through here, which they can get stalled as well from some cheeky Masons, or they have to go all the way around here. So it is heavily Mason favored from here on out. But I do like the fight because, granted, it's small and it's in a choked up place, but there is room to maneuver. The reason why I don't like the fighting on LONSPIRE is because there's nowhere to go. The courtyard is cramped. It's big, but there's nothing in the way. In this place, you have the gallows that separates all the fighting. So the fighting can happen, usually it's sectioned. People are fighting up here, or people are fighting back here. You can take cover behind the corners around here. In LONSPIRE, the most you have is that centerpiece with the horse statue, but that's not enough because the spawns come from the front, and you have to constantly be up in the front lines. If you're in the back, you're not really helping, while the fighting here happens all over the place as the Gathians try to take ground. And then we move on to the heir of Malric. Valentre, I think that's how you say his name. Most people do not like fighting this dude. I will admit, it is definitely more enjoyable defending the heir than attacking the heir because of the cheeky use of the corners. Pretty much two things happen here. Very rarely a third thing will happen. The first and most common thing you'll see is the heir will run to the back corners, and you will never see him again. He will just have a wall of meat behind him for the whole 5 minutes, and if Agathians are not on point and winning the team fights, you will have a tragic loss trying to get through the castle wall of meat that the heir is hiding behind. Or two, after about 2 or 3 minutes of Agathians trying to claw their way through the Masons to get to him, he will be singled out in the corner and torn apart within 20 seconds. Or three, you will have an actual dynamic engagement where the heir understands that if he sits in this corner, he's pretty much resigning his fate. It's either his Masons will successfully defend him, or he will get mangled once they die. And the heirs will pretty much linger around here. This is what I do. The heirs will linger around here, and when they see a nasty push is coming, they're going to jump down and use their throne to their advantage. Because the thing is, the Masons spawn in 4 places. In both corners, so they can potentially stack right on top of him from spawn, or they spawn at the bottom place here. So if the heir hides in a corner, there is a risk to it. If the Masons aren't winning the team fight, it'll take them a long time to rally by him. However, if the heir understands this and lingers around here and knows when to retreat, he can actually have his team rally to him in an easier way, because they can then approach from all 4 angles rather than having to funnel from one side of the throne room to the other. They can just, congregate here to him. And I think if the heir is playing like that, I think this stage can actually be enjoyable. Unfortunately, that isn't what most heirs do, because most Agathians aren't strong enough to push through the wall of meat, which is very unfortunate. But in those rare instances where we can get him in the center, and it's an actual battle throughout the whole throne getting to him, that can be very interesting. And of course, defending him, playing as the heir, can be fun, because as I said, if I get to be the heir, I pretty much linger here waiting for that instance. You can't, as any of the VIPs, you can't really fight by your team, not with the current state of the game. They don't have enough health, they don't do any extra damage. The only specialties they have is having a lot of health and armoring through attacks, but they don't have that much health. So they are forced to stay behind their team. If you stick your neck out as the VIPs, you will die. Point blank, period. But I think the tooth and claw battle here as the Agathians, the length of it, this is one of the, if not the longest map in the game, just off of length of each objective. It does put it in my favor. And of course, look at this. This right here is stunning. It's imposing. It's menacing. It really showcases the power of the Mason army. And getting to him, this throne room itself is also very cool. I do like the Duke's throne room more because of its compact nature, making it so action is all over the place, rather than the fighting all happening in these choked up places. But as said, it's not guaranteed. Some matches you will have combat happening from here, 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 pretty much all over the place, and those lead to the best matches. If it's a match like that where Agathians reach him, and that's how the fight goes, and it can go either way at that stage, I think that makes this easily my second favorite team objective map. It's chaotic, but it's also quite a fun one. So, number 1. This should come as no surprise if you know me. It is without a doubt Escape from FALMIRE while playing as Agatha. That will be going on the S+ ranking. Siege of RUDHELM, I'm going to put in the S tier as well. Escape from FALMIRE, though, S+ as both Agatha and Mason. I've been taking into account both teams when I'm describing each of these maps. LONSPIRE, generally it's just the same for both. COXWELL, I prefer Agatha only if I'm the peasant. DARKFOREST, I usually prefer Agatha. Mason can be fun fighting the Duke, though, taking all those angles and just the general mayhem of it, and turning the Agatha's defense into our offense. That is a very cool dynamic. RUDHELM, I like it going either ways. Pause. I like RUDHELM on either team. Can't say I prefer one over the other, but, you know, beating the odds as Agathians is definitely something. But getting to play as the VIPs is also something. So, Escape from FALMIRE. Wow, this map. What the heck? What the heck? So, ironically, I know I sound like such a freaking class act with these takes. Oh, LONSPIRE is your least favorite, as it's the most balanced, and FALMIRE, the most unbalanced, is your favorite. Yeah, I know. Shocking. So, FALMIRE is, without a doubt, I will agree, the most unbalanced map in the game, with it being incredibly Mason favored. And it even has some filler objective problems. But I cannot get over just how fun it is clawing through the Mason army as Agatha on this map. So, this first objective, I have nothing really to say about it. There's a wide flank you can take from the left. Agatha shouldn't lose here. I mean, it's fun doing it as an engineer, but whatever. The Petard phase, another choked up bridge fight, but it's got a bit of a dynamic. One bridge is a Chad, the other bridge is a Virgin, as you can see. Small, petite, pathetic. And you have this Giga Chad bridge right here. It can go either way. And then, of course, this choked up log right here. I don't even know why the Masons put this here when they can be so easily used against them. But it is a standard 3-lane, putting petards to the gate. Can be a bit of a struggle, but it is very funny. Using these petards and just rapid fire throwing them at the Masons' faces is a lot of fun. The cages, it's in this big, desolate town. Again, Agathians shouldn't lose here, especially if they're utilizing engineers. I know what you're thinking. Wow, you've gone through 3 objectives already and you don't have much to say. How is this your favorite map? The bridge and beyond. Man. So, the bridge is where the map starts for me. Wow. There's something about beating the odds in a game like this that just really gets me giddy. So, before when I was like most other people and complained about this map and had problems with the bridge and beyond, as most matches do end here, I've learned since then. So before, the problems I would face here would pretty much be the Agathians spawn all the way back here, the Masons spawn right beyond their castle, so once the Agathians have to take this, it's diminishing returns. And it can be very unfun to just constantly lose here because the spawns are just so against you. If the Agathians aren't winning the team fights, they will end up losing here. There is one outlier that I have recently used, and since then I have never bothered taking the flanks, and I have yet to lose on the bridge since I've used them. That is large rocks. The carnival of rocks being thrown at the Masons on this stage is what Agatha needs to take the center. I'm telling you, the devs know this themselves. I'm going to point out every rock checkpoint. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if I didn't count that one, 7, 8. So, I'm going to count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, no, 7. 7 checkpoints for large rocks. They are the key that you need to use on this stage. Like most bridge choke points, if you get into the slash fest, you need to rely on your team just being better than the other. And due to the spawns not being in your favor, most times the Masons will claim victory, especially because they have these disgusting lances here in their favor. But if you use the rocks and take those lances from them, after you smash their heads in with them, you will start to see the bridge get a lot easier for you. The champion. Alright. Well, breaching the gate. This is another filler objective. Agatha should always get into this courtyard. This courtyard is crazy. Now, I have seen so many upsets, and I've been on the receiving end of so many upsets on freeing the champion because of one big issue. The Masons spawn right here, spawning them right on the objective. But other than that, the lances, the wide area of the courtyard, the fight to take this ballista, I already said using the lances against them, the tight area the Masons are confined to here, it is something else. There's going to be fire everywhere. There's going to be a bonking sound everywhere from the lances hitting people. And it is going to be very annoying as Agatha to get this thing open. But I live for that struggle. I don't know what it is with this map, but just having to fight through each objective so hard, I just feel like, I think I know what it is. Because I do most of the first three objectives, I usually do almost entirely by myself. The first objective, I usually always solo it. The third objective, in the town breaking the 8 cages, I almost always solo it. The bridge, since I'm usually the one using the rocks, I feel like I'm the deciding factor in how we end up taking the bridge. So I feel like I solo that one. Taking the gate, I'm usually the only one that goes around. I can usually open the door and then instantly get the gates open. So I think I can solo that objective. Getting the cranks open. I'm always taking this flank, and I'm always getting to the cranks. So I feel like when we free the champion, I'm doing that. I just feel like this map calls to me with how hard I play as Agatha and how many objectives I end up doing by myself. But it is a team effort. Breaking those cages, I can usually break like 6 of them by myself, not gonna lie. But taking this bridge and beyond, it is a team effort. And just having the odds so stacked against you and overcoming them is something else, man. So taking this area, you only get 6 minutes and it's very fast. When you do, the match is in full effect, full throttle, and it's time to play. So, getting this champion to the boat, oh my god. Every time I get on this map, I have to take like a deep breath when I'm Agatha. I'm pretty much describing this map experience as Agatha, but I'm going to get to the Masons after. I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to describe Agatha, then Mason, because it's my favorite on both. Wow. Getting him from this short area of the gate to the boat is something else, man. The screaming, the choked up areas, distracting them on the left to then free up some space here, the sprint to the docks and the thrill. Oh god, the hazards. Making sure no one drops that on him, making sure he doesn't go under the barrels of the fish, hoping that he knows to jump here and get on the ramps, hoping the barricade isn't, or the ramp isn't barricaded, and if it is, that you have what it takes to destroy it. It's something else, man. I think the dynamic in this objective is crazy, and I know people might disagree, but I think it is there. The Masons spawn in one area, and they'll always be spawning in here, right stacking up right here, because most matches end up with the champion right here. And he has to brace the wall of meat. Agathians spawn right behind that gate, which is a huge struggle, because as said again, Mason spawn is heavily against them. But man, there are some cool strategies you can use on this map. There's this ram skull you can use as a ranged one-shot on either side. If he's getting damaged, he has to rally back up here, eat some cabbages, stack up. There are flanks that both teams can use on the left and right to either aid the champion or hurt the champion. Of course, stacking up here, winning the team fight, clearing the way, using these large sweeping weapons and your own body to just push the Masons back into their spawn. It's not really something like the other maps. I can't think of any other maps with this sort of dynamic. Obviously, the dynamic of escorting a VIP. That's one of a kind in and of itself. It's not just defending him in a room. No, it's taking him through the valley of death to sanctuary in this boat. Then, of course, fighting through the docks with him right alongside him, keeping him safe and potentially having to break a barricade while keeping the Masons away from him, making sure he doesn't get knocked into the water. Just going against all the things, just defending against everything that's against you, giving him a shield and everything, that whole scenario, giving him the correct weapons for each situation, an Executioner's Axe if there's so many Masons around him, you know, a shield and a sweeping weapon like the sword or something, so obviously he can put it on his back and defend against arrows and stuff, making sure that all your abilities are on point, using the oil pots to clear out the Masons here or their spawns, making sure you're the footman, throwing bandages at him to keep him healed at all times. Pretty much no banners are really allowed anywhere because you're going to be constantly moving. There's constant movement in this phase. Most matches will have a choke happen right here, but that's, as said, where some other dynamics happen. A lot of times, experienced champions will see, okay, they're stacking up here constantly. They'll run back, move over here, pretend that they're going here. It's going to distract a couple of Masons. Even by the time he goes around there, it'll clear up some space every time. And maybe they'll give him enough to make the break for it for the boat. Just the thrill of going against the odds on this map is something I have not really experienced in a multiplayer game. Of course, the dynamic of a prison rescue in a multiplayer game, that's not something I've experienced. It's something else. This map as Agatha is without a doubt my favorite experiences on this game. Being the champion, helping the champion, just going and getting that dub, knowing that everything is against you and you were just really not meant to win from a lore perspective, from a game balance perspective, because my god, this map is horrifically balanced. It's amazing. There's nothing like it, man. Every time I get a dub in a full lobby on this map, it's definitely a celebration. It's definitely a party. Tragic losses. The losses are heavy. They are hard felt. Seeing the champions die on the docks, seeing them walk into barricades, getting caught in a bear trap and just getting killed when you're right there. Man, it is something else. Of course, this is a field engineer's haven, both on Agatha and Mason. So now I'm going to describe this map as the Mason order. So, defending on this map is also something that I thoroughly enjoy. Because this is where the engineer shines. Every objective on this map, a field engineer can make usage of, defending with their barricades. So, the first objective, if there's multiple of you, I'm gonna go with the assumption that there's at least 2 field engineers on the Mason team. The first objective, you can cover the back cage. I'm gonna reset the map, by the way, just so I can have more time to admire it and explain to you. As the Mason team, the first stage, you can use the barricades and shield the back cage. If you want to be cheeky, you can make a tunnel of death where you use the barricades and form a tight corridor that Agathians can go through, lined with bear traps and spikes. That's something that me and my friends have done. Because in general, due to the unbalanced nature of the map, it allows you to have a lot of fun. I like this map as Agatha for the challenge. I like this map as Mason for the lack of challenge and just how free I feel, you know? Just doing whatever I want as a field engineer. So, the second objective, you can do some really funny things with the barricades and bear traps. You can bear trap the center log, stopping Agathians from making a push. You can barricade the petards, so if your team ends up losing a team fight, and the people with the petards end up rushing the gate, they then are blocked off by your barricades, have to drop their objective, and handle your new objective to then push through. You just get a lot of dirty barricade value on this map. If you want to be cheeky, you can put a barricade right here in the center, completely cutting off the choke point if they want to bring the petards there. The cages. Not much to say here. This pit, it can't really be defended ever. It usually always goes first. If there's multiple engineers, you can barricade these cages here. Pretty much the reason why the engineers work so well here is due to the choke points and the how would I describe it? The choke points where they get stuck and they're pretty much forced to deal with the barricades to get to the objectives. They can't ignore them. In most other maps, there are so many angles that they can take that make the barricades useless. On DARKFOREST, I can't think of any place you can barricade except the Duke's Throne. On RUDHELM, you can barricade the corners, sure, but archers can still shoot him from many vantage points. Let's see. LONSPIRE. There's pretty much no room for barricades. No. I guess maybe on the bridge, but those will be destroyed in seconds. COXWELL, not much barricade value except for, I guess, breaching the gate and potentially getting to exploit spots. But on this map, barricades on the Mason Order can be used in every objective to great efficiency. You can cover these cages in barricades, forcing them to deal with them before they can actually get to their objective. The bridge, oh my goodness. Ignoring the choke points, because usually people don't take them in groups, you can barricade the center objectives, stalling for your team so they can stack up. You can use the barricades, like right here, and then throw rocks over the barricades to just hit the Agathians. Another thing you can do is you can use the lances in tandem with your barricades and just put a castle wall here and then have a group of masons just prodding people from either in between them or right over them. It is so freaking funny. Breaching the gate, you can't really put a barricade here. Mason spawns here. It's pretty much just fighting here until someone eventually makes a big push around to the right here. You can put a barricade behind this door and stall for a little bit, but not much to say there. You can barricade to really nasty efficiency on this stage. Usually I put them here. What I've seen is I've created little little rooms that masons can use the barricades. If there's 2 or so engineers, you can put say for example, 2 barricades here, blocking it, so Agathians that take this flank have to then go around. They have to then go around here, walk around and enter it from here to crank it, and then have just a pocket mason just standing right in front of the crank, hitting them. It's so dang funny. I know it's hard for you to understand without visuals of these things, as I'm just kind of narrating over blank spaces, but in practice, it is freaking hilarious just seeing the Agathians struggle to deal with each of these because the barricades add such a unique issue. Because the thing is, the engineer is one of the least used classes in the game, and to see it flourish on a map like this, it really highlights some of the potential issues of it, and it gets a lot of people using the engineer. What I notice is when people see my barricades and how well they're doing, they start switching to the field engineer and joining me. And then when you have these literal castle walls on each objective, it is just hell for the Agathians, and it is very funny as the Mason Order. And then, of course, the final stage. There is almost nothing funnier and sadder than just spamming 6 or so barricades on the ramp, even just 2. Multiple bear traps, and just watching the champion just wither away once he reaches these docks. I have seen countless matches now where the Agathians make a miraculous push. The champion is either sprinting by himself or with some allies, and then he sees the wall of death erected, the sea of red, and there's barricades that he can do nothing about. This is the only way to the boat. He can't jump over them. He can't go around them. He has to waste so much time breaking them, and by the time he does the first swing on the barricades, all of the masons are right on top of him. He gets devoured by the meat grinder, or he just gets tossed right into the ocean and dies. And again, you feel like a modern-day hero. There are so many matches where just 2 barricades and a bear trap is all it took for the Mason Order to claim victory over what would have been a guaranteed loss. And when you're that engineer who wins your team the match, who saves the match, it's a great feeling. I've been on the receiving end of it. I've both died to barricades here and won many matches due to my own barricades here. It's something else. Just the dynamic of this map in these final objectives and the grueling nature of them for Agathians and just the careless attitude I have as the Masons. It's something else. Spectacular map. Definitely my favorite in the game, playing as Agatha. So, to get a recap, LONSPIRE is in the B tier as my least favorite, due to its very, very, very static nature, with very little unique things going on, with the only unique thing you can do being a cheeky way to get past the banner stage within like 20 seconds. COXWELL, as a peasant and on the midget bench, it's very funny, but if you don't have those, if you're a mason and you can't be a peasant, and you don't care about the midget bench, it's just a standard map with repeating objectives and a victory lap stage. Whoop-de-doo. DARKFOREST. too many filler objectives, but the few objectives that aren't are quite a skirmish. A lot of unique areas where offense or defense turns into offense for the Masons. The Duke's room is amazing. I love it. I love its compact nature. I love all the flanks that they can take. I love how barricades can be utilized to defend the Duke. Overall, it's a very fun skirmish in those final 5 minutes, and the overall aesthetic of the map. Siege of Rudhelm, lengthy, difficult objectives. Some interesting dynamics with the ballistas, the catapults at the beginning. Very little filler objectives. It's just non-stop action. FALMIRE, S+, without a doubt. It just, man, there's nothing quite like winning this map as Agatha in a full 32v32 lobby. There really is nothing like it. I feel like you should be rewarded with a unique cosmetic or something for securing the W against so many odds. And as the Mason team just shoving barricades in Agathians' faces in every objective and watching them struggle through them is quite freaking humorous. So that is my map rankings as of, I guess you can even say the launch of the game, because since the first patch not much has changed. Yeah, Galencourt, we'll see what it's like. Hopefully it has a VIP, because VIP maps are amazing. They're very focused objectives that I like a lot. They have unique matches every single time on them when we get to them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just some filler content until then. Wow, I need water. I cannot believe that took an hour. I cannot believe I've been talking for an hour with such little hydration. Hope you enjoyed. Restock. Good lord, I am parched.